I have Gray Flannel's EDT. So this fragrance um smells different than when it originally came out, 100%. And well, in my opinion, from what I remember, this one is very light, airy, almost like something La Beau would release. It's just smell like almost an air freshener compared to what it used to smell like. It to me it smells irisy, violet leaf, geranium, um, greenness, galbanum, soapy, clean. How it used to smell was way more denser and almost like you know how you smell an amber fougere and it's like dense or something. I mean, I know this in an amber fougere or whatever. I think it's a sheeper. I don't know. Yeah, it would be a sheeper. It had oak moss in it, but the main difference is the old one, in my opinion, had a way denser, loud. It probably was the oak moss in it. It smelled more masculine to me. It's 100% a difference, but I mean, this is really weak now. And it used to come in a like a splash bottle. I mean, maybe they still have the option of the spray in the splash bottle. I don't know, but I remember it used to be a splash bottle. When I was a kid, my dad had this fragrance, and I remember he always had it in the back of the truck, and I would open it up and smell it. And so this could have affected the smell. Maybe the sun affected the juice in the bottle being out in the hot sun in the truck. But even before that, before it was in the truck, I remember smelling it. But if anything, I don't think the sun would make it smell stronger. Um, I think, I mean, this was always not an expensive fragrance, but it definitely smells cheapened up now. Like it smells quality ingredients. It smells cheapened up in the way like Estee Lauder would reformulate a Frederick Mall or something. Oh, it's way weaker, it's lighter. It smells expensive. Like I could see La Beau or some brand like La Beau releasing this as a city exclusive. Actually, I think they have one that smells like this that's its city exclusive, and they could charge 500. Like it smells expensive, but it definitely smells weaker, lighter, airier. You know, this used to be one spray or one splash, and you could smell it for sure. I feel like if I put a few sprays on this now in an hour, it would evaporate. So, but how does it smell? Let's see. I mean, it smells like gray flannel if you ever smelled it, just weaker. I'm surprised guys wore this back in the day because there is a purple floral aspect to it, iris or violet leaf. It is in there. I wouldn't say it's a unisex fragrance. Well, I mean, it definitely leans masculine, but it doesn't smell ultra masculine because of those purple florals in there to me. But I think anybody could wear this. I think women could wear it because of the floral aspect, but I do think the geranium in there kind of makes it lean masculine. But it's interesting because I don't know when oak moss got regulated or restricted because I know they can't put that much in there now, but I feel like I do remember it being greener and more oak mossy back in the day. I would have been smelling this in the very early 90s, maybe late 80s. I don't remember. I was too young, but I remember smelling this in the early 90s. So like 92, at somewhere around that time. That's what I'm comparing this to, and it's all from memory. I don't have a bottle anymore. But yeah, the main thing I remember is denser, louder, just dense or like oilier almost. Whereas this is like more alcohol-y and just a light scent you kind of get, like a mist in the air. Yeah, I mean, that's the main difference. And of course, the oak moss, I believe it had way more greenness in it and like a outsidiness. But yeah, it's still good. I mean, for 12 bucks, 15, whatever I paid for this, it smells just like any niche fragrance. I feel like instead of people spending money on niche fragrances, you're almost better off getting these cheaper bottles online because it smells niche. A lot of niche fragrances just take inspiration from classics, or they might do a somewhat of a twist or modernize them, but the quality for most niche fragrances doesn't smell higher quality than a lot of these old school fragrances. Maybe a lot of these cheaper ones are kind of light compared to niche fragrances, but a lot of niche fragrances are light too. And I doubt any of these vintages are using not real rose or anything, but I don't know. Davidoff Zeno smells like they put Civitone in it, and that's not a cheap chemical to use. So, and I mean, this obviously has some kind of iris in there, and I know anything trying to replicate iris isn't the cheapest. So I don't know. Most niche fragrances are kind of a ripoff. You got to seek out the ones that actually use high quality ingredients. But this is unique. I haven't really smelled much like that. I'm sure there's some out there or whatever, but I feel like this was kind of the first a unique smell at the time. I can't think of any fragrance that goes further back that used this. And I know this was really popular back in the day, probably the 80s. I remember it being popular even in the 90s, and I've heard people talk about it being popular. But I feel like if you never smelled gray flannel, get a bottle. It's so cheap as like a reference scent, and I think you'll enjoy wearing it. But yeah, from the newer version versus the older one was dense, oilier, oak mossy, louder. I mean, just think, if you get a bottle of this or you have a bottle, think about if you had just a straight oil concentration without any alcohol in it, and that's kind of what the original smelled like. And I feel like that's true for a lot of fragrances. They all kind of smell like just light mist and more alcohol-y and airy nowadays, and super weak. Like, I don't know, maybe have olfactory fatigue because a lot of fragrances are using ISOE super or some kind of aroma chemicals where the molecules are real big. But yeah, this definitely smells less oily. Let me know if you smelled the original, smelled the new one, and what do you think the differences are if you have.